What's up, everybody?
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
Okay. What's up, everybody? This is Joe alongside Bare Knuckle Ken. This is the MMAniacs first podcast. Sorry about the conditions I'm currently driving, but I just almost ran over a lady. Dude,
well, I mean, she's walking out in the middle of the street. It's her fighting for her life too.
Dude, she's walking out in the middle of the street. Like, I felt like jumping out and putting her in an arm bar, dude. Like, dumbass broad. Anyways, we got a lot to talk about today. We're gonna start off with a topic that should really surprise.
Well, Joe's having a little bit of technical issues with driving home. So the first topic we're starting out with is the Conor McGregor fight getting postponed, which definitely caught me a bit by surprise because you had Dana White coming out as soon as the thing got announced saying, oh, it's definitely going to be on. We're not changing it. And for it to just fall through all of a sudden to where now, hey, we got to find out what's going on. Well, we do know what's going on. We're getting Duplessis versus Asanda for the middleweight title that's going to be taking its place. And that's got its own controversy because a lot of people wanted to see Sean Strickland get it. But we got to see how it's going to be with Asanya there. That is this going to show that he deserved to leapfrog Strickland because he's had one hell of a run, and Strickland's got a very viral fan base that loves everything that he does to a degree, and we should be in for an interesting fight, but I got a feeling that Duplessis is going to take him. Hey, we got a Joe back.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
Better we get the technical difficulties out of the way on the first show, right?
Yep. I was going to say, I lightly touched on the McGregor situation and Duplessis taking over.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's your opinion on that, Ken? As far as the McGregor pulling out, are you surprised? Are you not surprised?
Yeah, I'm definitely surprised because right when we first started hearing the rumblings of it, you had Dana White come right out and say, oh, the fight's still happening. It's still going on. And then almost all of a sudden, it's okay. The McGregor's dropped out of the fight. And now we got the Duplessis fight coming up.
Yeah. See, I'm gonna have to take the opposite side on that one. I'm actually not surprised at all. I was surprised that McGregor actually took the fight in the first place because, I mean, the guy's got a cocaine habit now. He's been on steroids for the last 2 or 3 years.
You see him in that Roadhouse remake, how huge he was?
Right, that's what I'm saying. He's been on roids for the last 2 or 3 years. He didn't want to enter the USADA testing pool. He's coming off an injury against Poirier where he literally, just shattered his tibia and had to have a titanium rod inserted into his tibia. So, I mean, at this point, in my opinion, McGregor's done.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many guys do we see come back from breaking a bone in their leg off of a kick like that and actually do something? even Anderson Silva, with how good of a fighter he was pretty much done after that too. Granted, he fought after, but he was not the same man.
Mm-mm. And he wasn't on cocaine. So.
So does that help McGregor or hurt him?
No, it definitely hurts him. And the reason is, it's like, you remember Marvelous Marvin Hagler, former middleweight champion of the world, just passed away a couple years ago. One of my all-time favorite boxers. But he was quoted as saying, it's hard to get up early in the morning and go run when you wake up in silk sheets. It's like that feeling of being comfortable and being rich, like it saps your hunger. And I think that's been the case with McGregor ever since he got the Floyd Mayweather money. He basically came back for that Cowboy Cerrone fight, which in my opinion was an absolute joke. That fight, you know what it reminded me of? You remember Jurassic Park when they would tie up the goat for the T-Rex? That's what that fight basically was to me. Is like Cerrone was on his way out and he knew it. Which, nothing against Cerrone. Like I like Cerrone. He was always a gamer, always, put on a great fight. And he saved the UFC's ass quite a few times on events to taking short notice fights. But I think it was one of those things where the UFC was trying to angle Conor back into contention and give him the easiest possible matchup that they could give him. And, Cerrone's on his way out, but he still has a ranking. So they're like, hey, we'll give you a couple $1 million to just lay down for this guy. And you know what I mean? And like the same thing was kind of going on here with Chandler, in my opinion. It's like, McGregor's coming off like 3 or 4 losses. He hasn't won a fight in, I think, 6 years or, something like that. And they're trying to angle him into a title shot off of one win, because McGregor fighting for the title does big money.
Yep, that's what I was going to say, that McGregor in the UFC makes them a hell of a lot of money just from his name alone, even if he's a shell of himself.
Mm-hmm. But eventually the money train is going to dry up. Mm-hmm. And, you can only take so many losses before people, although Conor is very entertaining, so people might still tune in just for his press conferences.
Yeah. But losses, too, in the UFC feel like they don't mean quite as much as in, like, boxing and that if you stack up a couple in the UFC, to me, from what I've seen, it almost seems like it's not as detrimental to your career.
No, you're absolutely right. Actually, it's been talked about quite a bit in the last few years that in boxing, one loss can do tremendous damage to your career. You can be a great fighter and all of a sudden you lose one fight and everybody thinks you're a bum. Whereas in the UFC, it's not uncommon for a top shelf fighter to have 5-6 losses. When you fight the best guys, you're going to lose. It's just inevitable.
Yeah, and then with all the variation in MMA versus boxing, it's not just one skill set. It's you got all these skill sets combined, so there's so many more ways to lose.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it could come down to just a bad weight cut. You know what I mean? Like you have a bad weight cut, you feel weak, and then you don't have the gas tank for that day, or you slip on a wet spot in the octagon and you get caught with a right hand and you're out. I mean, it's like there's the margin for error in mixed martial arts is so small that it's nobody makes it through their career undefeated. And if Nick was here, he would say, well, John Jones did, but we all know John Jones actually should not be undefeated. John lost the Dominic Reyes fight at the very least. He also probably lost to Thiago Silva, and in my opinion, he lost the first Gustafsson fight. But there's something to be said for gift judging. What can we say? But moving on from Conor McGregor, what are your thoughts? Final thoughts on McGregor? Does he reschedule the fight? Are you interested in seeing the Chandler McGregor fight at this point, or is it kind of like you're over it?
I honestly, I wouldn't pay to watch it, but if they put it on like the UFC fight night there on the ESPN Plus, I'd tune in, and I'd be kind of excited about it. But with McGregor getting injured after already dealing with such a devastating injury of the leg, and like you were mentioning earlier, him having fun with the nose candy, is McGregor even going to fight like McGregor? That's the only reason that I'm interested, is to see if he's still himself or not.
Mm-hmm. I don't think so. I think the money has sapped his hunger, and it sucks because McGregor in his prime was a great fighter. Never a top shelf grappler, but I mean a lethal striker, and he had good takedown defense too. I mean, the only guy who really manhandled him on the ground was Khabib, and Khabib's going to do that to anybody.
Yeah, I was going to say he was manhandling everybody.
So, part of me really wants to see McGregor get his shit together. Part of me really wants McGregor to get off the candy and get back in the gym and work hard and get hungry to win a fight again. Like, I wish he could just, while he's still like 30, 35, 36 years old, I think, something like that. Like, if he was to go on one last run where he came back to the gym hungry and, wanted to win one more title for his legacy, like, I would love to see it. As far as him and Chandler, I think it would be an entertaining fight. I'm not paying $70 for it, but it would be an entertaining fight.
That's my point of it. Is it'll be interesting and all, but it's not a major draw. Because to me, just from the leg injury that he had, I don't think he's going to come back from that, because I can see him going to freaking block a low kick or even throw one of his own and snap the thing again.
Well, if it's the same leg, he'd have to kick pretty fucking hard to snap a titanium rod, dude.
Is it all the way up? Oh, okay.
The rod goes through his tibia. Like, it's literally like they bored a hole in his tibia and put like a titanium rod through it.
Okay,
so
I
he's
thought it was that
basically
he got
RoboCop.
titanium plates put in.
He's basically RoboCop at this point.
Well, shit. In that case, I want to see what the hell damage he can do with that leg.
Man, can you imagine getting kicked in the leg with a titanium rod, dude? Like,
those leg kicks are lethal enough without adding nothing to it.
He's gonna break somebody else's leg. You know what I mean? Have you ever seen that movie Kickboxer with Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Oh, of course.
Or I mean, not Kickboxer, Bloodsport. Remember when that TIE fighter snapped, like, compound fractures that dude's leg? It's like, that's what I was saying. Or I think it's the TIE fighter.
Imagine that freaking titanium rod hitting you in the back of the calf and just crushing it.
Yeah, I'd rather not. But it's going to be interesting. Like, I'm definitely, I'll definitely pirate the fight. I'm not going to buy it.
Oh yeah.
But it's going to be on pay-per-view, because every Conor fight, like, that's their moneymaker. But it leads us into the segue into the next topic. So they replaced that fight with Israel Adesanya versus Dricus du Plessis for the middleweight title. Great fight. Great fight. They've been building this fight up for quite a while, but then Izzy lost to Strickland, and so before they could get this fight on, and then all of a sudden, du Plessis gets a split decision versus Strickland, which I actually felt like Strickland could have. I felt like he should have edged it myself. I know I'm not alone in that, but it was that close of a fight that I'm not going to call it a robbery. So now we get Izzy, we get the African fight that they wanted, like two Africans, right? Izzy, although Izzy lives in New Zealand, he's from Nigeria originally. They wanted this fight for Africa, right? Because Dricus is, actually African. He's actually from South Africa, still lives in South Africa. They wanted this fight. The UFC wanted this fight because they're looking to tap into the African market. So it's an intriguing fight, and it's a good fight. Like if you're gonna lose the McGregor fight on a card, this is a good backup fight. Definitely, I'm not complaining about it. The only thing that I would say is I don't think necessarily Izzy deserves the title fight. I think Strickland actually deserves a rematch because of number one, how razor thin the first fight was. Number two, Strickland just beat Costa, another top 5, top 7 contender, on his way back. But let's face it, Izzy is the UFC's golden boy, just like McGregor. He's going to get all the love every time he possibly can. So I'm not surprised to see Izzy back in the title.
What I don't get is why the UFC, granted, they do a little bit, but not as much as like a McGregor, why they're not pushing Sean Strickland like crazy. He's got a very ravenous fan base.
Yeah, he does, but I think his fan base it's not huge. It's like they're ravenous and they're, he draws a lot of the MAGA crowd, which, I like Strickland. He says a lot of funny shit.
Yeah,
and he's a crazy dude, but his fighting style, it's very technical. And some people might even call it boring, because it's play good defense, use your 1-2. It's exactly how he beat Izzy. He lost, quote unquote, the fight against Duplessis, doing that same thing. But Strickland is at the point in his career he's not going to change. He's going to stick with what works, But I would be interested to see small adjustments that he would make against Duplessis the second time. But instead, we're getting Adesanya. So let's talk about that fight. It's an intriguing fight. I mean, striking wise, you have to give the advantage to Adesanya, right? You would think that you would have to give, like, Adesanya is the more gifted technical striker. However, Dricus has stupid power. So if Dricus can land on Izzy, he can definitely knock him out.
That's where he's got to hope that technical skill is going to be his saving grace.
Yeah, and
those shots land clean, you're going to feel every bit of it with his power.
Yeah. So did you get a chance to see the Duplessis and Robert Whittaker fight?
Not yet.
Okay, so Whittaker's been fighting his way back up the division for a while because he lost to Izzy twice, and then it was like Izzy stayed the champion for a while, and it was like, well, Whittaker's already lost twice. They don't want to give him another title shot, right? So once Izzy lost, it kind of opened things back up for Whittaker, and Whittaker got matched up with Duplessis, and Whittaker, I thought, fought the wrong kind of fight. Like he tried to box with Duplessis, and I thought he should have used his wrestling more, and he ended up getting caught with a left hand that stunned him, and then he ended up, he lost by knockout. Now Whittaker, he was scheduled to face Khamzat Chimaev, and Khamzat just pulled out of the fight with an injury, which I'm disappointed about because that would have been a banger fight. Mm-hmm. But so you got Whittaker in the title picture right now, right? He's probably one win away from a title shot, unless Izzy wins, because are they going to match him up with Izzy again? Like, probably not, right? So, and then, Duplessis right now is the champion, and he just beat Whittaker. So you got Whittaker, who's there in the mix, but then you got Strickland, who really only barely lost this split decision to Duplessis and beat Adesanya. so he's definitely in the mix. So it's an interesting. The title picture is interesting at 185. Hey, what's up, Nick?
What up?
So we're talking about the Israel Adesanya versus Dricus du Plessis fight that's taking the place of the Chandler versus McGregor fight, since McGregor is apparently got his face in a pile of coke right now.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that fight? Let's get your thoughts on it.
Didn't Adesanya he didn't take it on short notice, right? He hasn't fought in a while.
Well, it is on short notice, but you're right. He hasn't fought since the Strickland fight. He was taking time off.
Yeah, it was Usman and someone else that they were asking to like fight now, and they were like, "No, it's just too short a notice." So Adesanya was the one that took the card, right?
Yeah, but Adesanya has been off for probably close to a year. Since he lost to Strickland, he decided he was going to take a good long break, and then they managed to convince him to come back because he wanted this fight. Before Adesanya lost to Strickland, he was supposed to fight Dricus du Plessis. There was this big Africa versus Africa thing that the UFC was building, and they never got to pay it off, and now they're getting to pay it off. But we were talking about the technical aspects of the fight. Like we're gonna kind of breaking the fight down. So Ken and I were saying we give the technical striking advantage to Adesanya.
Because he's a lot longer and taller. He's easily got a reach advantage on him.
Well, and his striking is just smoother, right? Dricus is a bit plodding with his striking, but he's got just tremendous like hammers, dude. He's got hammers. There's no other way to like say it.
The way that I look at it, it almost kind of reminds me, not the outcome. I don't think it'll be the same outcome. I'm just saying it kind of reminds me of when Weidman fought Silva, to be honest. It's kind of like that. Because Silva clearly had an advantage striking. He was longer. He was, I think, obviously more skilled. But like the way that Weidman was striking was just on the button, It may not have been super powerful, it may not have been super technical, but he was just hitting him on the button over and over, you know what I mean? And that's ultimately what, other than breaking his leg and showboating, that's what did Silva in, right? So it kind of reminds me of that, although I think Adesanya is going to win this fight.
See, it actually reminds me of a different fight. It reminds me more of Adesanya versus Costa, right? Like Costa is this big, nasty brawler, mauler dude. He's got excellent striking, really strong kicks. But Adesanya was just so much more technical. Costa was having a hard time getting off, And I wonder if that's going to be the case here with Dricus. Is Adesanya going to be just too slick to where, like John Jones, he's able to keep him on the outside, use leg kicks, use his reach, use his front kicks, and just keep Dricus off of him.
Or like the previous Strickland fight, you think it would be kind of like that?
I think it'll be a chess match like that, but I think at the same time that Dricus, like we know that Adesanya is going to wait for Dricus to come to him, right? That's Adesanya's style. He's going to try to bait you and counter you. So the question will be, how aggressive is Dricus going to be? Is he going to chase him down to try to land that one good shot? Is he going to try to wrestle? How does Adesanya's takedown defense hold up? Because Dricus can also wrestle. Like he's strong as shit. So is Dricus's wrestling good enough to counter to nullify Adesanya's takedown defense? If so, then that's going to be an interesting aspect of the fight. If it stays on the feet the whole time, I kind of see Adesanya winning a decision, or maybe even being able to take him out late in the fight. I don't know. He did knock out Pereira, so Izzy does have some power. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting fight, put it that way. What about you, Ken? What do you think about that fight? Who do you think wins? Is it too hard for you to pick a winner, or
I honestly don't know who I would pick out of those two, because my mind is set on the winner of that fight in Strickland, because Strickland's already said that he's going right for whoever the hell's winning this. And that's the fight I'm honestly thinking about. That this one, it will be a nice tune-up, but it almost doesn't really matter who wins to me without having too much of the recent MMA stuff to fall back on.
Yeah, I think Strickland deserved a shot to begin with. I'm surprised. I know he just fought against Costa, but I thought that they would give the shot to Strickland. I thought he deserved a rematch, but the Izzy, again, Izzy is their boy, and so of course they're gonna do it. It's like McGregor, they're gonna do whatever they can to get him into a title fight, even though he's coming off a loss. So it'll be interesting to.
And Strickland made it very clear that he doesn't want to fight these. I'm not going to call them bums, but to him, he's making it sound like these inferior fighters that he shouldn't be fighting. In fact, when he was talking after the fight, it really sounded like he was pissed. Like that, he made it sound like he was pissed that Dana White gave him such a easy card when he deserves to be fighting the higher tiers. You know what I mean? That's what it sounded like.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I definitely got that feeling too after watching that fight. Yeah. In his post-fight interview there.
And
he made easy work of Costa, dude. He really, Costa never really got to get off at all.
But it sounded like to Strickland that everyone knew that that's what was going to happen. So he was kind of irritated that, like, why'd you throw this guy on the card? I want to fight someone that, he wants his rematch. Clearly, he wants his rematch. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he almost won the first fight. I mean, I would love to see the rematch. I think everybody wants to see the rematch. I kind of don't know what the hell they're doing at this point. You know what I mean? Like, put the guys together that we want to see fight. But, I think the money and stuff like that ties into it most of the time.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. And the rivalry that they got going on, where I don't remember who it was, but one of them was saying, "Oh, we're gonna fight to see who's the real African." To where I think that home country pride's got a lot to do with it.
It was both of them. They they had this thing where they staged it where Izzy came into the octagon after Dricus beat Whitaker and basically called him out when Izzy was still the champ. Izzy came in there and it was like this total staged Brock Lesnar type moment, and it was like, okay, so they're doing this Africa versus Africa thing, and I'm fine with it as long as Strickland gets the winner because Strickland deserves it. I don't it's unfortunate for Whitaker though.
I don't think it's the poll that they think it is though. This isn't like Conor McGregor. He fights and you get a huge following, a huge poll, right? This one, the whole Africa versus Africa thing, I don't feel like it has that big of a poll. They could have done a lot better of a job, in my opinion.
It might have a major poll actually in the country of Africa.
Sure, but in America.
But see, that's what they're trying to do is because they're building a performance center in Africa. They're building they've got one in China. They've got one in Vegas. They've got a couple of them in the world, and they're building one in Africa because Africa is this huge untapped resource as far as MMA goes.
So then you think this fight, you think the marketing for this fight is expansion, then not necessarily to gain the viewership that they normally would on a card.
I mean, Izzy has plenty of fans that will buy this fight because him and Duplessis is going to be a good, interesting fight. It's going to be a very technical, interesting fight. But I think the ultimate bigger aim for the UFC is definitely expansion. They're trying to create interest in Africa because they're building a performance center there, and you have to think about who knows how many fighters are going to come out of Africa in the next 10 to 20 years. We're just now seeing the results of the performance center that they put in China, that they put in Mexico, Like we have all these Mexican UFC fighters now who are winning titles. We have Chinese fighters like Zhang Weili, Song Xiaonan, who or Yan Xiaonan, excuse me, Song Yadong, like all these Chinese fighters that are, at the top of the rankings that, were China was unknown 15 years ago as far as the UFC and that or MMA. And now they have like a bunch of fighters that are in the top of certain divisions. They're contenders or they're champions. So they're trying to do the same thing with Africa, obviously. It's a smart move. It's going to definitely create interest in Africa, seeing that there's an African UFC champion, and that actually whoever wins this fight, there will still be an African UFC champion at the end of it.
It kind of reminds me of like they'll put games in London for the NFL, and you're like, why'd they put those two teams though? That's just kind of how it feels.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well,
expansion though, you get the sport out there and everything, right?
Yeah, but the expansion could have been with a better card. That's just me though. I feel like Eddie Asani is going to win. It's going to be convincingly.
See,
you got to put on a show though. I mean, I feel the same way, but it's going to be a show if you're doing it in like Africa and everything. You don't put a fight like that down if you're not thinking that there's going to be revenue made.
And also, Izzy's been sitting on the couch for almost a year now, dude. Like, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
He took this fight on short notice, so we don't know if he's been training. He definitely hasn't been in a fight camp. We know that. Whether he's been training or not is one thing. So is Izzy's gas tank going to be an issue in this fight? It hasn't traditionally been an issue for Adesanya because he's always well-trained, well-conditioned, but he's coming off of this almost year-long break after the loss to Strickland. He hasn't been in fight camp. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy to me to sit on the couch and eat chips for a whole year. So he's probably not, grossly overweight. He seems like a guy who hits the gym pretty regularly no matter what. But being in shape and being in fight shape are two different things. So that's a question that you have to ask, right? And also Duplessis wasn't necessarily in a fight camp either, right? Like he wasn't scheduled to fight on this card, I don't believe. And now
but take it like this though. John Jones, he was out of fighting for 3 years, moving up to the heavyweight level, and then he came and just whooped Gaines' ass within a minute and like 50 something seconds. Like, is he probably training? He's a multi-sports person.
But John Jones was on roids the whole 3 years, so I mean, like, let's be honest. That's how he got from, light heavyweight all the way up to the jacked heavyweight that he is now. Is like he went on.
But wouldn't roids make you bigger quicker?
It did, but John Jones, dude, it didn't take John Jones 3 years to get to heavyweight weight. It took him 3 years before
he fought heavyweight a long time ago. He just never fought for the title. He had been fighting heavyweight fights already before he left.
He had
years.
He's
only fought light heavyweight. He walks around at heavyweight, but he's never fought at heavyweight.
Yeah,
all of his fights were
heavyweight against Cyril Gone. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying is they built that fight up, or they built John Jones going to heavyweight for 2 or 3 years, and the fight never happened, and then finally he fought Cyril Gone. He was supposed to fight Ngannou, but Ngannou apparently priced himself out of getting that fight.
I was thinking of Silva was fighting light heavyweight fights, but not title fights. That's what I was thinking of.
Oh yeah, Silva, yeah.
He was fighting at 205.
And he was winning too. And then Weidman,
Irvin, and he caught his kick and just
yeah, that fucking sucked,
dude. Ouch.
I was a big Silva fan too.
Silva ruined one of my favorite fighters ever.
Which guy?
Forrest Griffin.
Yeah,
Forrest Griffin. You like Forrest Griffin? Oh Lord, man!
I used to like Forrest Griffin too, bro. Like I used to like Forrest Griffin too, but
me and Joe used to watch him when they had the free fights on TV every week. And Forrest Griffin, he won the Ultimate Fighter, and he came in and he was whooping people's ass.
He beat Rampage.
Yeah. He beat Rampage by leg kicking the shit out of him. And then, but Silva, so Forrest Griffin
Silva got in his head.
Yeah, Forrest Griffin had lost the title at that point, and he was looking to bounce back. And Silva beat him immediately in the most embarrassing fashion, to the point where Forrest Griffin ran out of the ring, and we were just sitting there like, did that really just happen? That was embarrassing. Yo.
He's like, this motherfucker literally moved up from middleweight to light heavyweight, and whooped my ass. Like, dude, I put my head down and walk away forever.
Anderson basically stunned him, dude.
Yeah,
stunned him.
And the thing was, the build up to the fight I thought was great, because Forrest Griffin was a completely opposite type of fighter than Silva was. And Forrest Griffin was really great technically the way that he did fight. But Silva's striking was just too, like, Forrest Griffin has never been some ultimate striker. It's not really necessarily his game. He's more of an overall kind of break you down, wear you down type of guy, you know?
Right.
Silva just grabbed him and just went boom.
Like, I didn't expect that.
Well, the jab, dude. Like, he knocked him out with a jab.
Yeah.
Like,
that's even worse.
He caught him because Forrest came in, like, you know, he charged in and he was off balance, and Silva just caught him at the right moment, the perfect counter, like jet with a jab, and knocked him out. So we were talking about what do you think, Dom? We were talking about Izzy versus Dricus du Plessis instead of Chandler McGregor. So let's get your opinions you just got here. First of all, is McGregor done? Do you think this is the last we see of McGregor?
I don't see McGregor fighting. Like, McGregor too big. He's too big for the UFC now. Like, he's just playing around. I'm telling you, why pull the card? Like, I just don't get it. I figured it was gonna happen because I don't see McGregor risking, like, him. You know, he needs this and, like, his mobility and everything. Like, I think he's just messing around, just what's it called, taunting people. Like, hey, yeah, I'm doing this. I think something bigger is gonna happen. If you get what I'm saying.
Like, he's gonna go to jail for rape?
Oh, Jesus. I didn't say that. Damn, I didn't know if he raped people, he needs to go to jail.
He's currently fighting 2 different sexual assault cases, so I didn't just make that up. Like,
okay, then shit, then that may be it. Like, he may be, you know, lowering up, as they say.
I was gonna say that's why he's getting all swole.
Right, like, but I just, when I seen what movie was in Roadhouse, I see him going the actor way. He's gonna pull The Rock. He's gonna pull a Dwayne Johnson. He's gonna pull a John Cena. He's gonna pull a Batista. He's gonna go. He's a pretty damn good actor for the role he played too. If you think about it.
He definitely didn't do bad.
If he's convicted of that sexual assault, he better work on his butt cheek guard, though.
What did Dave Chappelle say? Nighty night. Keep your butthole tight. Remember that. Remember that, boys. But no, I just don't see it. And Izzy's a very, you know, he's been sitting for a year. He needs to get back out there. So why not have this fight? I feel like that's a bigger fight than McGregor's. I'm not. McGregor got beat last time. I was just like, he's done. What are you like? What are you doing? And then he got beat up in boxing and made all that money. And then what happened? He just went and did. He made a promotion team and everything. So I don't think he's going to fight again.
We were talking about that. Like, the UFC throughout, you know, McGregor's career after the Floyd fight, they give him these opportunities where they basically tie a goat, like Jurassic Park. They tie a goat to a fence and, like, the T-Rex comes in and eats it. Like, Chandler was meant to be a sacrifice just like that, right? Like, Chandler would put on a good fight, but he's not technical enough. Like, McGregor's a sniper. That's the idea, is McGregor gets his highlight reel knockout. Chandler is still ranked like number 7, so that automatically, magically catapults McGregor back into the top 5 where he can get a title shot off of one fight. That's ultimately the UFC strategy. So,
what's it called? The WWE and UFC are the same team, right?
When you said that you thought Dricus versus Izzy was a bigger fight, Nick kind of looked at like, because Nick is looking at the draw that McGregor is and how much money McGregor brings in. But I get what you mean, Dom. It is a bigger fight for.
I just feel like McGregor's just playing around.
For hardcore fans, it's a much more meaningful fight, right?
Yeah,
because these guys are both contenders, they're both active.
Those guys are actually fighting to get somewhere and do something. The McGregor fight is for show, man. At this point in Conor McGregor's career, he's not gonna. A lot of people are saying he should just retire at this point. Like his time
has been damn retired already.
Yeah, his time has already came and it's probably gone at this point. If McGregor wins this fight, he's not going to go win the championship after that. Like, let's be honest.
Here's my point. When you go to boxing and make that much more money, you're not looking to move backwards in life. He's not. What's he getting out of that cup? $1 million, $2 million, $5 million? McGregor's a smart businessman too.
So McGregor was going to fight Chandler. I think it was even at 185. It was 170 or 185. But yeah, because McGregor, he's been on roids and it's hard to lose all that weight. But see, the thing is, they were going to let McGregor fight Chandler at like 170, but then rank him at 155, right? Or rank him at 170. Potentially, they could give him 2 title shots out of it. But either way, it's like he's, even if he wants to beat Chandler, he's either going to have to face Islam, which, I mean, you already
seen how that happened.
You know how that fight's going to go. Or he has to face Leon, which, I mean, Leon is no pushover, dude. Leon just knocked out Usman, with a head kick and then defended his title against Usman. Like, Leon is as quiet as it's kept. Leon is one of the best fighters in the world, dude, hands down.
Yeah.
Like,
they just don't promote him like that.
I know he's the champ, so some people will be like, well, he's the champ, he gets credit. But does anybody here really think Leon gets the credit that he actually deserves? I don't.
No.
I think,
you don't really see him in media and everything, but I also believe he's a very private person.
Leon is very underrated, in my opinion, though. Like, he finally started to get some shine when he knocked out Usman, but like Leon, he was on a 12-fight win streak before that, or like a 10-fight win streak before he fought Usman. Dude, like, dude is just, and it wasn't like he was fighting bums. He's beat, Gilbert Burns. He beat Usman twice, and we're talking about like the Dominator Usman that was like knocking out Masvidal's and knocking out everybody. Like, I think Leon.
I think my favorite thing would be if Conor McGregor, and I got to be honest, I'm not even sure Conor McGregor was going to win the Chandler fight. Dude, if Chandler catches you one good time, he's got some haymakers, man. He's powerful. But let's pretend that Conor McGregor, the fight happened and he did win. The best thing would be McGregor to run his mouth, come back, and act like he's going to start balling. And Khabib's like, you know what? Maybe I will come out of retirement then.
I would love to see that.
That would draw big. That would sell out quick.
Huge. I don't want to see that. It would be huge, but I don't want to see it because Khabib's just going to wrestle fuck him again for 4 rounds. And
I just want to see Conor get beat up. That's me. I like Conor, like, as an entertainer and everything. I just don't like him as a fighter.
I like Conor getting beat up. I like seeing him get beat up, but with Khabib, it's just going to be wrestle fucking. He's just going to get mounted, and he's just going to like.
Just hit Khabib right in the throat. Do a cheap shot. Get disqualified. That's what I say. I don't like Khabib either. He's man. He's man.
I like Khabib.
I like Conor more than Khabib. How about that?
If you don't like how Khabib fights, then stop it. Yep.
I don't really like how his whole camp fights is boring.
Yeah, I don't like his camp. I agree with Nick. They wrestle. Come on, that's not fighting to me.
See, I
understand it is, but like if you fight in a strike, I get it. They were both talking shit to each other, but like I don't think that's you wrestling a motherfucker who just does striking basically. Like, I don't. That's not fun to me. That's just like what I waste my money for.
Okay, Dom. So if you were to have to fight Mike Tyson, right? You're going to have a strategy that is going to stick to your strengths because you're obviously not going to stand up with him. Like,
no, I'm gonna put you can't knock me out clause, and you better hit with 2% power. Mike Tyson. That's not even a fair fight.
No, but
I wouldn't even be able to get my hands on that guy.
Okay. How about this? Let's say Ilia Topuria, right? the featherweight champ. He's got dumbass hammers, dude. So you're not going to sit there and try to fight him standing up because you're going to end up sleeping just like Volkanovski, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to try to wrestle him, right? You're going to try to take the fight to an area where you have a chance. Khabib is the same way. He's not going to sit there and just trade punches with McGregor when that's McGregor's wheelhouse.
But Khabib be acting like he got the most powerful strikes and shit, though. That's what I don't like about him. He be like, he talks like he's got, I like him as a fighter. I just don't like the attitude. Like, he's not, arrogant either, so I can't really say that. But I'm going to beat you, and I'm the, champ and everything. Like, nobody can beat me. I get that, but show me some strikes. I like the stand-up game. Yeah, I'm from upstate New York. I like wrestling. Believe me, like you have no idea. Wrestling's a big culture up here. But I'm a striking type of guy.
That leads me into. Let's talk about the next topic. I'm glad that we were talking about Khabib because he's actually part of the next topic. In your opinion, has Islam Makhachev surpassed Khabib Nurmagomedov, or what does he need to do? What is yet left for Islam to do before he can surpass or get out of the shadow of Khabib? Like,
move up a weight class and knock somebody out. I've had this debate. Move up a weight class and knock somebody out.
Okay.
I've had this debate with people many times because you're fighting. I'm not going to say scrubs, but you've beaten your division, one and then some. So what makes you, I'm a big John Jones fan. He's from Rochester, New York, represent. But a lot of people discredit him because blah blah. He takes his fighter he wants, but he moved up a weight class. He went undefeated in light heavyweight. I'm not going to count that disqualification, just like Dana says. That's a 12-6 elbow, whatever. Back in Pride, you can do that. Back in Pride, I understand.
He went undefeated, right? Undefeated.
There's no quotation, a disqualification.
I'm not talking about the disqualification to Matt Hamill. I'm talking about he lost 3 rounds to Dominic Reyes. When you facing the champion, you gotta beat him. You gotta knock the champion out or submit him. A lot of people get that mistaken. Show me where it says that in the rules.
The judges. Where it says that's an unwritten rule.
That to beat the champion, you have to knock them out or dominate them.
Floyd Mayweather for one.
I think something. When you look at the unified MMA rules, you will not find that anywhere. Just like in professional boxing, you will not find that anywhere. Like
I think you can't beat the champ by knocking him out, though.
What you're talking about is corrupt judging. Like
why are you fighting the champ though if you can't knock him out?
John Jones lost to Dominic Reyes. That's a fact. He lost.
That's a quote.
Arguably, he lost to Thiago Silva. Arguably, but that one was closer. But number 3,
I'd rather give the Gustafsson fight
in the first fight too.
But here's the problem. You have to beat the champ. You can't leave it to the judges.
Undefeated is.
I take it from the head guy, Dana White. He just said it last week. John Jones is pound for pound champ. He hasn't been beaten.
That's not.
I'm taking it from the president. I'm taking it from the CEO's mouth. I'm like, if you put a guy in a room with John Jones, who's walking out 10 out of 10 times? John Jones. He's the baddest man on the planet.
Dana White drinks the ball sweat from John Jones's balls.
No, Dana White don't even own the UFC anymore, so I don't know why I'm talking about him.
That's not what you're talking about, Joe. Is not as clear cut as say like when Costa won a round against Strickland. That's clearly ridiculous. You're talking about something that's like
I'm talking about Dominic Reyes won 3 clear rounds versus John Jones. 3 clear rounds.
He did it.
The first 3, though. The first 3 rounds were very clear.
Was Jones on the ground?
A lot of people think that what you're saying is not true, though. Whereas nobody on the planet thinks that Costa won a round.
Actually, a lot of people are saying the same thing that I'm saying.
No, there's a lot of
people saying
I would say a majority of MMA fans.
I didn't say that there weren't people that aren't agreeing with you.
In fact, it's only John Jones fans who don't think that
No,
he
I've
lost
seen a
to
lot.
Dominic
No,
Reyes.
I've been all through these groups and see a lot of just regular people saying, "Nah, I mean, you can't leave it up to the judges," like Dominic is saying. Whereas, like what I'm trying to point out is this Costa Strickland fight. I haven't seen one soul on the entire planet, probably not even his own parents, would say that he won one of those rounds. So
He didn't.
Okay.
They just
But
don't like
we're
what's his
talking
name,
about, but we're
Strickland.
talking about John Jones, and John Jones is not. I mean, he's undefeated because the judges have never found against him, but he's not undefeated.
Name one guy who's beating his wrestling as soon as he takes him down. Name one guy. He's
I can
beating
name you a guy who beat him in
champions.
a
Like
fight.
he's beating champions when he was a young boy. No one has beaten him. That's what I'm saying. When you go and you beat
John Jones
legends,
is great. John Jones is
when
great.
you go and you beat
but
legends though, and
he's
then
not
upcomers come
undefeated.
and they try to beat you,
He's not undefeated.
you got to knock them out. You got to submit them, and they haven't gotten to that. They haven't even gotten to 50% of that. No one has like knocked John Jones down on the ground, and he was, oh shit, I'm worried. He got back and he wrestled him down. He knows what to do, but he's a striker too.
John Jones is undefeated in my heart.
Yeah, of course he is.
But regardless, to go back,
we were talking about Islam.
To go back to what we were talking about previously, what is Islam going to do? I think that Islam, in a way, his legacy was a little bit hurt by that Poirier fight because he looked beatable to me. Now, is Poirier going to beat him on the ground? No, but Poirier was able to stop him from taking him to the ground multiple times, which actually showed moments of him not being indestructible. So if he moves up a weight class, there may be a guy that can prevent him from taking him down and catch his ass. I think that it kind of showed that he is beatable in a way.
Yeah. But that's all you have to do for me. Just move up a weight class and win. You don't even got to knock somebody out.
Okay, so Dom says you got to move up a weight class and win, right?
Yep, that's it.
And that's all it is going to take for Islam to surpass Khabib. Nick says, Nick makes an excellent point. Islam, the fact that he had the troubles that he did with Poirier sort of damages his attempt to surpass Khabib. I agree with your point, Nick, but I also think that Poirier drastically improved in that fight. He worked with I think it was either Merab, or it was Gamrot on his wrestling, and he drilled wrestling, takedown defense, and he drilled it that whole fight there. So I felt like Dustin put on a really great fight, and I don't think it necessarily hurts Islam, but I think it shows us the difference between Islam and Khabib. Khabib was like an absolutely strangling type of grappler, whereas Islam is much more willing to engage on the feet. He's when did you ever see Khabib knock anybody out standing up?
Never. Islam's at least willing to try. Like Islam
knocked Volkanovski out with a head kick, and then he knocks Oliveira down and ends up, winning the fight. But based off of that knockdown, like that's the difference. Is that like I think in grappling, Khabib is a better grappler, but Islam is an excellent grappler.
He wrestles grizzly bears for training.
His striking is much better than Khabib's, I believe. So I think that there's differences in the two. As far as what it's going to take for him to
I say put those two against each other and let them fight.
That'll never happen.
Striking. No, I know, but striking. Like, let them fight striking. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best.
If they were to fight striking, Islam would win.
I'm sure behind closed doors they've done it. I'll bet you that they've done it like a million times, and I'll bet you they both, Islam and Khabib, know who's better at what against each other. I'm sure they already know that information.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of it. But in my opinion, for Islam to surpass Khabib, I think he really only needs a couple more, maybe one or two more title defenses. And
you think he got that in him?
Oh yeah. After Poirier, I mean, if you look at the top five in lightweight, who is there that he hasn't already beaten? I mean, he's got Oliveira, he already beat him. He's got Poirier, he already beat him. He's got Gaethje, he hasn't beat him. But I mean, does anybody here honestly think Gaethje is going to beat?
I thought Gaethje could until Gaethje's last fight, and I went, wow, he may have been a little overrated after I watched that last fight. But I thought Gaethje was amazing. Like he has some amazing fights, man.
Hey, don't hold that against Gaethje. He got his nose broken on a spinning heel kick in the first round, and he fought that entire fight with a broken nose. You try to breathe and not get knocked out for 5 rounds against Max Holloway.
He's a mouth.
I don't hold that against Gaethje at all. But it opens up an interesting possibility.
If there's something that Islam could do against someone like Gaethje, if he's going to leave his nose open, this dude's going to put a foot to his nose. I mean, that's, you know what I mean?
It was actually very lucky. Like, it was a very lucky. I'm not going to say it was lucky in the sense because Max was throwing that kick a lot early in the fight. But on that particular time, Gaethje just happened to duck into it. Duck right into it. And it was just the perfect storm for that nose to get broken.
I think it sucks for Islam.
I'm surprised he didn't get dropped from that one with how hard that freaking hit.
I think it sucks for Islam because I didn't mean like this fight like hurts his legacy. I mean more so like it hurts the logo that he's unbeatable because whereas Khabib,
legacy may not be right. You're saying he showed vulnerability.
Exactly. Right? And unfortunately for Islam, Khabib retired and there's really like nothing you can do to like change what he's done now. See what I'm saying? Whereas Islam, it's still open for interpretation. The last fight, Poirier, he really he exposed a few weaknesses in my opinion. So I mean, there's got to be more. That's all. There's got to be more.
Yeah. So it leaves an interesting question too. Max Holloway, after what he did to Gaethje, he's trying to get the fight with Topuria for the featherweight title, but I personally wouldn't mind seeing Max Holloway at 155 fight Islam.
Yeah,
I think that would be an interesting
shit.
Do you think Holloway? Because I do. Do you think Holloway is probably? I think Holloway's a stronger striker than Poirier. Probably. Like if he catches Islam with the right hit, like
I don't think he's a stronger striker. I think he's a more technical striker. Like he's a better, he's got better hand speed. Poirier has more power. Put it that way. Poirier has more power and he has excellent boxing, but Max has excellent footwork, excellent boxing.
When I said stronger, I didn't necessarily mean like the power side. I just meant like his game, his strike. I feel like he's just got a stronger game standing up, and like you can't really toy with that dude the way that you did with Poirier in a sense.
Right.
Technicality.
But that's what I'm thinking. I think Max has the stronger striking game. But Poirier has more power, so he's stronger in that sense, right? So that would be an interesting fight. So last topic, guys, we're right up at it. We're at 58 minutes. Dustin Poirier, he injured his ribs and he had a partially torn ligament in his knee against Islam. Is this the end for Dustin Poirier? And if so, in your opinion, is he an automatic Hall of Famer?
Yes and yes. From just from the fights that I've seen at his, he's a damn entertaining fighter and had a hell of a lot of heart. But I don't think that heart's going to be enough to say, all right, once I heal up from all this shit, I'm going to go abuse myself some more. I think he's already at that point. And they were already even talking about the possibility of him retiring before he got these injuries. So I think
what do you think?
I'm gonna say he's gonna retire. I don't see the point in coming back anymore. That he made it somewhat clear that this was kind of like his last shot in his interviews, you know what I mean? Like it was at least trending that way. With all those injuries, it's kind of just like I couldn't really see him doing much other than gimmick fights at this point. But is he a Hall of Famer? I mean, he's got some records that he's up there with, like, especially like the quality of wins that he has throughout his career, the amount of wins that he has. I mean, the longevity of his career. He never won a title, which is unfortunate because he deserved one. He's kind of like Uriah Faber in a way. It's like, damn, that guy never won a title. So I think he'll be in the Hall of Fame.
Dom?
I'm going to go with he ain't coming back. And it's going to take a while for him to get in the Hall of Fame because of the championships, no championship defenses, but he'll eventually get there. So he will be one day.
I'm going to say no, he's not done. And yes, he's a Hall of Famer automatically. Like I think they've already made it clear that he's earned his way into the Hall of Fame. But I think Dustin is going to come back and try to put the capstone on his career. He's going to take the time with his injuries, and he's going to hope that somebody beats Islam in the process. And he's still ranked. Dustin is still ranked in the top 5. If he comes back after those injuries, he's only got to win one fight, and he could theoretically be back in a title fight. So I expect that Dustin is going to give it one more run. If he does retire, I'll understand, but I think the competitor in him is not going to allow him to retire without giving it at least just one more shot for that title, dude. Like, I think he wants that belt so bad that he's
So thank you, everybody. We hit our time. We can go ahead and talk after this, but we definitely did hit our time, so I'm going to end it right now. Everybody have a great rest of your day.